Hi Libra, I'm EllaAradia and welcome to your July 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Libra air signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's not going to resonate for all of you, but what I do find, I'm going to have to take that card, that one just keeps wanting to jump out. What I do find is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Libra signs. So it may show up in different areas of your life in slightly different ways, to different degrees and intensities, but the theme is always the same. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoy this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Libra, let's jump in. I always like to tune into the energies first, Libra, before I start pulling any cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I always like to see, what the universe shows me for you. I'm seeing someone standing in their power here, Libra, and I feel like this month there is a big invitation here to really gain sovereignty over your life, like in so many different ways. It feels like to me, it feels like, there has been a need for validation somehow, where you may have overinvested, you may have stayed in things that felt unhealthy, where you felt unappreciated or unseen. And that there is this energy of kind of people pleasing or like letting things slide. But of course, there's always a cost to that. Eventually there's a cost to that. And it feels like in doing that, there's been a part of you that has been waiting to, be validated in some way. And of course, the invitation here is about you validating yourself, getting back in the driving seat of your life and really owning, I feel, your life path. I think sometimes there is a tendency to compare ourselves to other people, what they're doing, what they've accomplished, the direction that they're going in. And actually, it's always to remember that your path is absolutely unique to you, and it's just as valid as anybody else's. So with your overall energies, we have the Nine of Pentacles. That's really what I'm feeling, from this card. This is all about, putting the work in to really create the kind of life that you want, creating security, abundance, and something that, what comes with that is perhaps a sense of freedom in your life as well. The abundance, that's what abundance is. It's the ability to do what you want when you want to do it. And that's what your overall energy is. That's what this is all about for you. And, that's you investing in yourself and, really standing strongly in your path, what steps you need to take to, really create what you want in life that will give you that security and that sense of freedom here. What lies in your recent past is the Ace of Pentacles. Some of you may have had a new offer or opportunity that has come in, particularly in the career area of your life. Some of you might be stepping out on your own and really investing into perhaps your own business, a life goal, a project. Because it feels a little bit to me like this is a moment where it is all about that, you investing in you. It's not so much about working for somebody else or a company or someone else's project where there isn't, I feel, a kind of balanced reciprocal energy here. And it feels to me a little bit like this is something that you are starting to move away from. And for some of you, this may have involved a recent move because, this is earth energy and that's related to home, career, family, a new path to walk, a new beginning, which sometimes is, a whole new direction in life. And sometimes that can also represent a change in location. So some kind of fresh start, some kind of new opportunity for you. In your current energies, we have the Two of Cups. I love that because the Two of Cups, cups are usually about love, and that can be soulmate energy. For some of you, you may have moved for someone. It can relate to love as well. And, that will have come from an energy of, really following your heart and doing what's right for you rather than what other people think you should be doing or who they would like you to be. And for some of you, this change in direction is also moving you into life purpose, because this is all about, connecting on a heart level. So the figures in the card, they're choosing each other through an energy of mutual trust here. And as much as it can be, a partner coming in or someone that has recently come into your life or someone that there has been, some kind of next level decision that has needed to be made, which for some of you may have perhaps involved, either one of you traveling to the other. It feels more like it's you going to them. But it's a heart-based connection where, that there is this alignment with your heart. And very often, that can relate to our life path, our purpose, and, stepping into something where you're doing it from your heart and it's in alignment with your truth and what you really want. Because like I said at the beginning, I feel like this month is about, I keep seeing the Chariot card, getting back in the driving seat of your life and really owning your life. I feel like your energies have, had a tendency in the past to get a little bit fragmented. I feel like you've had a lot to give to others, but in the process, you haven't done that for yourself. And so, you may be one of these people that sometimes kind of loses themselves, particularly in love. It can happen in the workplace as well, where you're just putting all this effort into like really growing somebody else's business. But in the process, you may have put your own dreams to one side. And I feel like this is a pattern in the past, particularly with friendships, relationships, where, you've been very supportive, you've invested in, the things that they're doing, their lives, and pouring all of this energy in. But in the process, you've kind of lost yourself a bit. And the universe really now is asking you to, I feel, come back to yourself. It's time for you to work on you. It's time for you to work on your life. And make choices and decisions. For those of you that this does relate to love, that are in aligned with what you really, really want. Your feelings towards your situation, that's what's coming in, just a moment. The feelings towards your situation is the Five of Wands. So conflict. And what's coming in, I always like to pull that afterwards, but actually what's coming in is the Fool for you, a beginning of a new chapter. And the Five of Wands as your feelings towards this situation can often be where there is conflict. It can represent competition, but it can also represent, you know, clashing views, opposing views. And I keep feeling friends and family. For those of you that this relates to love, it feels like in choosing this person or choosing to take things to the next level, it may be putting some distance between, you know, you and family or you and friends. And I do feel, of course, you know, there are people around you that love you and they don't want to lose you. They don't want you to kind of move on somewhere else. At the same time, they want your happiness. But there may have been a bit of conflict here. And I just get the feeling of, you know, things being said which really came through a fear of losing you. Things that weren't really meant. I get the sense of someone, you know, kind of questioning you, putting doubts in there, which sometimes we need to help us make a decision. But it also feels like whoever this person is, you know, it's maybe someone that just doesn't want to see you go because, you know, they're going to lose, you know, not lose a friend, but you're going to be at a distance. You're not going to see each other as much, or it may be a family member. And, you know, this is all about opposing views. Now, in the workplace, this can be where, you know, there's more than one person competing for something. To be heard, or a promotion, or whatever that looks like. And it can be, you know, not such a pleasant energy to be around. And in terms of career, you know, that's all a message for you, because I do feel like there's a new path for you here with the Fool, a new direction to walk, where instead of competing with other people and, you know, trying to get your point across, to be heard, or competing for, you know, a higher role or whatever that might be. This is about perhaps you know, following your heart now, taking a different direction and working towards whatever your life goals are. That's what I'm feeling there. You know, the theme is still the same. You know, it shows up in different areas of your life. In the challenge, we have the Star. Renewal, hope, healing, renewal. Keeping the faith. Because, you know, the Star really is like a guiding light. So it is a card of faith, and really just trusting that, you know, what's unfolding, you know, is for your highest and best here. It's about trusting yourself, trusting the universe, trusting your path in life. And like I said at the beginning, this is about you getting back in the driving seat and you being sovereign over your life and really standing in your truth, in your power, because the naked figure on the card here represents, you know, being your authentic self and not being afraid to be seen, regardless of, you know, any challenges that might cause. You know, it's about you being true to you here, being your true self. And so that's in the challenge. So there's still a little bit of a, you know, perhaps a difficulty in doing that, but that is the invitation here. You're being asked to step into your power. In the hidden influence, we have the Empress, rebirth, some kind of new beginning. It is a card of fertility. You know, so for some of you, that might be something that is on the cards with this person that you are currently connected to. You know, that's soulmate energy. And with soulmates, there's usually soul agreements, lessons. And sometimes these agreements can be made, you know, before we come into this lifetime. I get the sense for those of you that are connecting with someone right now that this does relate to love, that there is something much deeper in this connection, and you're being asked to trust your heart. You're being asked to trust this new chapter. You know, the Fool is all about taking a leap of faith here. Even if we can't see the destination, it's about following your heart and just trusting in the unknown. Because, of course, that's not going to resonate for all of you, but for some of you, you know, there may be more to this. You know, there may be some kind of agreement, you know, prior to this life around family here. And, you know, potentially, you know, bringing a soul into the world. And as I said, that's not going to resonate for all of you, but I'm getting that for someone. And it really is about, you know, trusting that inner compass in this situation. And, you know, your happiness is something that's at stake here, you know, when you don't follow your heart. And there'll always be a way to balance, you know, seeing family, seeing friends, if this does mean, you know, a physical location move for some of you, because I do see some kind of journey. Like when I look at the Ace of Pentacles, the Lovers and the Fool there, I see a road, you know, and I feel like this is absolutely, you know, some kind of journey, which is going to be very transformational for you. And, you know, with a much deeper kind of meaning and purpose to it than perhaps you realize right now. And for those of you that this relates to career, this is about getting yourself out there, being who you truly are, being in alignment with that. And when you do that, the universe lines up opportunities, possibilities for you. And, you know, this is some kind of new beginning for you. And that rebirth in your case is going to be about you showing up in a new energy in yourself, in your power, and just trusting with the star there that there is more to this. There is a deeper meaning to this. And, you know, this redirection, it is leading you somewhere. And that somewhere is related to your life purpose. I really feel that. So with your advice from the universe, we have the Queen of Pentacles. This is lessons in self-worth, self-value, you know, really knowing your worth, how much you have to give, looking after your needs, looking after your life. This is the Queen of Pentacles, you know, tending to, let's say, you know, her life, her garden, and really investing in yourself and being sovereign, you know, over your life and your choices, your decisions, your body, whatever that is, and really taking care of your needs. It's not so much about what other people want. And of course, you know, that is sometimes something to consider, but you shouldn't have to completely give up your needs if you are in a healthy connection with someone. You know, I'm talking more about friendships, family here. You know, I do feel for those of you that this conflict is with family. Ultimately, I do feel they want you to be happy. I feel like, you know, any kind of doubts or questions have really just been there to help you see your own truth. But also, I feel came from that space of, you know, a fear of kind of a bit of separation or space between you and them. In your outcome, I love that, the Ten of Pentacles. So whether this is career or love, you know, this is a card where you are building for the long term here. This is about strong foundations, commitment, connecting to something or somebody where, you know, that is what you're working towards. So in terms of love, this is someone that you're on the same page with. You see each other as, you know, life partners. And this is all about, you know, building a connection which is strong and stands the test of time. And not only that, gives you what comes before that, which is the Nine of Pentacles. So that's the invitation here. And, you know, if you choose to follow this path, follow your heart, the Ten of Pentacles is actually where that's leading you. to the life that you really want in whatever way that looks like for you. You know, this is a card of, you know, abundance, security, financial security. Very often it's an energy of leaving a legacy, which is why I'm also feeling like there might be kind of a deeper soul connection around family here for you, for some of you, for those that this relates to a partner. So it's all about following your heart, and just know that that is your destination. So Libra, I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.